Thank you, Bhavna. Now, a few weeks ago, after endless hours of mindless scrolling, I decided to be a little responsible. I turned on a certain setting to limit my Instagram usage to about 15 minutes per day. Now, after all these days, you would assume that I have gotten better, right? Of course I have. Now I can intuitively press the ignore time limit button even before my 15 minutes are up. So I think like me, many of you in the audience are also social media addicts. Can I see a show of hands? All of us. Super. So all of us are sacrificing our health for a healthier influencer marketing economy. Huh? Great. So we're trying to find out here how brands, how marketers here are leveraging that economy today. So let me start with you, Priyaranjan, if that's okay. Now, for an apparel brand, is there a better way to sort of market your product than influencer marketing? And to what extent have the spends increased over last year? How much does it devote, how much of your revenue do you devote to influencer marketing?
Okay, thank you for the question. Look, for us, a brand which is almost, say, 50 plus years old, it's very important that we are relevant with the audience because we need to acquire newer consumers. We also need to build loyalty with some of them who are already there. Influencer marketing is important. It's been growing in stature 5 to 10 to 15, 20, now close to 30%. But it's very important for us that we connect with the right people, obviously. Because the brand comes with a certain credibility to it, and we want to ensure that the DNA doesn't get diluted. You get a lot of influencers in today's day and age creating all sorts of content. There are several brands whose only source of marketing is influencer marketing, especially in the apparel space. For us, I think very importantly, we are looking at influencers as a strategic way of pushing content and product information rather than just doing storytelling, because we don't see too much of that happening from an influencer 20-seconder or 15-seconder film. We rely more on our content to push that out. But for us, it's not the only source. It's definitely not the only source. We also have a brand ambassador who's the global face. We keep doing Cat A so-called influencers. So just to give you a few names, we've shot recently with Veer Das. We have a shoot with Sara Tendulkar on Monday. These are definitely not your regular influencers. But we also do a lot of content, say, with category-specific influencers. So footwear for us is a big category now. We're investing big time into it. We see a big potential there, and there's a specific community of footwear influencers that we are targeting. So over there, we'll be very specific in making sure that we go after influencers who have, say, footwear as their primary category of communication. But that's where we are. So yes, 5 to 10 to 15, but it's definitely not the only source for us.
I think the most interesting part today is that, every person feels that they're an influencer. So as a brand marketer, how do you really pick the right person? Let me come to you, Daman. For a lingerie brand, what is your 3-step verification process to get that right person on board?
Hi, thank you very much for the question. I think, to be very honest, I personally feel that for an intimate wear brand, it's the hardest job to get influencers, right? And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. Number one, I think for us, we need to be absolutely sure about who the followership of that influencer is, right? Now, a couple of points here. As per Meta's reports, 65% of audience on Instagram or Meta is male, right? So there itself, I know that the influencers I'm choosing will be heavily followed by male consumers, right? Now that leaves me with the remaining 35%. Now the second thing is when I choose influencers, I also have to be sure that this influencer, this girl has a higher female followership, right? That's very important for me. Now for me, a 55 to 45 split of male versus female is not going to work, right? We make it a point that whatever we do, the audience who sees the content should also be women, right? So I have to then choose influencers or women influencers who are basically have above 60% women followership, right? Now what happens there again is, let's assume that if there's a female influencer, she has a massive male following, and vice versa, right? So I think that's one criteria that we at Zivame have to be absolutely sure about. And genuinely, it kind of really reduces the pie. The second thing is engagement is very, very important, right? For us, today you will see influencers with, say, very high followers with very low CPV, or the other way around. It doesn't really matter, right? There's likes, comments, shares. Yes, that's good. There's also saves. You know, how many people are saving the content. So that's become a very important metric for us as well. We typically don't really go for macro influencers, because the kind of content that we create with influencers is about our product innovations, right? Our overall the categories. So we expect people who genuinely understand the product can actually articulate that product to the consumer. So that's number two. And number three, of course, is one thing that we've always been very sure about, even as a brand, when we sell products, we never try to make this over aspirational brand and this model kind of play. We don't do any of that, because we feel that we are a very relatable brand for the girl next door, right? So even the influencer who's kind of being the brand advocate for you, there has to be some resonance to the audience. So unless that influencer is not exactly who your brand kind of feels, or is kind of aligns to the brand, it doesn't work for us. So those are the three kind of metrics that we kind of look at when we choose influencers.
Now, Daman spoke about macro influencers. Let me bring Nisha in. Would you prefer to go with an influencer with a massive following, like the micro influencers today, or a macro influencer who, of course, has lesser following, but maybe the community he engages with is much better and more suited to your kind of products?
I like how simple the question sounds, but only if it was as simple to choose influencers. It really sounds that simple, honestly, that, oh, macro you get reach and micro you get engagement. But honestly, throughout my career as a marketer, I've seen both campaigns tank, and I've seen campaigns where such hypotheses were not put really, scale. So there is honestly no correct answer, because we have to also remember at the end of it, we are catering to consumers whose consumption patterns are also changing as we speak. So while I have a certain assumption about what a certain creator does, so honestly, to come out of this vicious loop of influencers, what we have done, we focus on content. Okay, and we make content the king/queen, and then we revolve our influences around it. Okay, if there is a content trend of get unready with me today, actually that's a trend, that get unready with me. So I have to see that as a content piece, then see my brand, how I can fit into it, and then see, okay, which influencer can support that. And on the question of what you earlier said, I think was very interesting, that now everybody is an influencer. That actually is correct. And it's not about everybody's an influencer, but everybody has a personal brand now. Right? That's why everybody is building their LinkedIn up, everybody has a bio on their Instagram. So everybody wants to have a say. It's like a thing like, I could have been a cricketer or I could have been an actor, and now everybody thinks they could have been an influencer. Because we have seen such success stories of relatable content really being liked at such a scale by people. So when we choose influencers, we make sure that, of course, it is cohesive to my budget for that month, and every month is different in marketing for budgets, right? Every quarter is different, and whenever budgets have to be reduced, marketing is always the first department where budgets are taken away from. So I never like to be in that situations where budgets are taken away from me. So I maintain a very healthy mix of ROI plus brand awareness, and these are honestly judgment calls you take on what is trending in terms of content at that point of time, and then fix influencer into that universe.
Has anyone else tried using user-generated content and, kind of using that as influencer content?
So I'll also take that up. Like if you look at Libas's Instagram, at least 40 to 50% of our content is user-generated, also by our own employees, which is a very viral vertical right now, right? Like employees creating content. So instead of having like models come and style clothes or a new collection, we do it on ourselves. And if we have a flagship sale coming up, we'll just have like us creating content for that. We write our own scripts, we shoot ourselves, we edit ourselves, we style our hair, do our makeup ourselves. So much so that I've told now my CEO that, listen, I want a hair and makeup artist for the girls because they just can't be coming to office like that. So UGC and also how you kind of diversify UGC is gonna be the next big thing.
Risha, you also handle a jewelry brand. Is this something that you do very often?
Well, actually, I mean, I think Nisha said it, right? Whether it's jewelry or earlier sugar also, you know. I mean, both places flush with the possibility of content creation via influencers, via UGC. Been doing it for a very long time, like, you know. And I think it's also very engaging for a lot of people in office. Also, look, when it's, like, say, these categories like beauty, lifestyle, jewelry, we also see a lot of people who tag us. So then we also get a chance to really showcase, you know, people wearing our jewelry, people using our products. So I think have been doing that for a long time, yeah. Same, exactly same. That's why I'm not going to repeat it. Like, we shoot it ourselves, we love doing it, it's a lot of fun.
You know, I'd like to cite a personal example. So, you know, as you can see, I'm someone with unmanageable curls. So when I started off my curly hair process, there were a bunch of influencers I used to like religiously follow because they would tell me how to tame my hair. But now, off late, I've seen those same influencers endorse this, like, you know, all the competition brands. So basically, I really don't know which of them is an honest review and which of them is, you know, a paid partnership. So as a marketer, how do you kind of get over that? You know, how do you make them authentic again? Maybe Harmeet, you can answer that. Yes.
Okay. Interesting question. So yes, I think authenticity over, you know, we want to rate over influencers who are just there to be, you know, there to just make, to being commercial. So with the Body Shop, that I would say it's something which is very, very important, is we want to choose influencers who are authentic and very real and who would actually go by the values of the Body Shop. So it is a task, I must say that, it is a task for us to choose the influencers, whether they are nano, micro or macro. Definitely there's a combination, and I agree with that when you said that it's not only nanos and micros, but sometimes you need to go with macros as well. But yes, to choose that, that how authentic they are in the way of what they deliver to their consumers, to their audience, that is one of the very key role, what we need to actually do it from our end, and of course then the influencers would actually play the part. Just want to give you an example that we've had a few campaigns in the past where we've had the influencers, and not necessarily they had huge followership, but yes, they were very authentic and highly engaged audiences. That's where our results came in, that we selected the TG that we wanted to target, let's say, the younger consumers, and with these nano and also the micro influencers, we were able to deliver and drive the messaging, what exactly the Body Shop wanted to. So yes, authenticity, as you just mentioned, is the key. And authenticated influencers is, of course, what we need to filter from the group, from all of them.
Sameer, would you like to add to that? You know, now the paid partnership tag is something that cannot be avoided from a regulation point of view. How do you really make your brand look authentic again with the use of the same influencers?
I'll attempt to answer your question first, especially related to curly hair. That's a new phenomena, and I think what we are also witnessing in the beauty salon business is a rise of this tribe. And unfortunately, everybody jumped onto the bandwagon. So as a curly hair individual, how do you really relate to what is the product which is genuinely good for you? So leave the rest to us. You know, let the salon decide and let the hairdresser decide, and not the influencer. Seriously, because see, especially post-COVID, what's happened in the beauty industry, like I'm sure in a lot of other industries too, but beauty has kind of exploded, whether they be products, whether they be services. So as a company which is operating about 200 plus salons in about 53 cities, strategically this year we've kind of decided that we will reduce the number of so-called influencers. We will lose individuals who are sitting on this panel. I have this consumer of mine from Bangalore. I just got to know. So she's actually the real consumer for me, or somebody like you, who will come there and will be happy even if you have 120 or 150 or maybe 1,000 followers. But then you are real and you are genuine and you will influence your community, your mom's school group, or your society where you live in. I think that's the pattern that we are seeing, especially salon industry that we are working in. Because that, according to me, is going to be far more genuine. And people are able to relate to. So that's a shift. Of course, we're not saying that we are doing away with the tribe of influencers, but we are really reducing the number of people. We just did something, a whole day shoot with Prajakta Kohli yesterday. But then we've chosen an opportunity because she just got married and, so she had a whole day at the salon. So that's something which is very, very relatable. And last evening, after the shoot, when I just went to Starbucks and I picked up a coffee, there was a consumer of ours sitting there and she said, "Sir, I'm very happy to meet Prajakta in your salon." So I said, wow, she lives in the society, a flat above where the salon is located. So this is what is relatability and, I personally believe that's a shift there. The other thing which is also happening is a lot of men in this business are coming up, like I told you yesterday also. I think men is something also which we are witnessing where we are finding them to be adopting the beauty services far more than what it was a couple of years ago. So I think the men influencers are the ones really I would back in the times ahead, right?
Pradeep, let me come to you. You're the expert on this panel. How expensive is influencer marketing compared to the other channels?
It's not at all expensive. All of you should do influencer marketing all the time. Okay, it depends, it completely depends on brands. Brands have a lot of strategies. For instance, I heard someone on the call yesterday say that we spend around 30% of our total digital spends on influencer marketing. I don't recollect which brand it was. Influencer marketing is expensive. However, it can be cost effective if the brands follow a certain process. That process changes from quarter to quarter. Budgeting being one of the biggest concerns, which every brand has and which affects in agencies like us on a quarterly basis. But what I would suggest generally to all the brands is that try to avoid mega influencers, because what you do with mega influencers, you might get reach, you might get face. WhatsApp pe 10-15 taaliyan baj jayegi because the content has come out to be great. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of creators. As you said, right? Everybody thinks they're an influencer, but there are a lot of people who are actually genuinely making great content. Probably most of them wanted to be actors and they did not get the platform. So now they are acting and they're doing a good job. And most of them are able to grasp their audience really well. There are a number of micro-influencers touching macro-influencers whose engagement is unbelievable. People wait for their videos on Fridays. People wait on YouTube. People wait for their videos every day on Instagram. It's important for the brand to look at their brand ethos, connect it with the kind of influencer. For example, comfort is probably what Zivame would probably look at. If the influencer is not comfortable or not confident in their approach when wearing an intimate outfit, that influencer is as useless as it's absolute waste of money. So it can be cost effective. It's most important for brand managers, to define their brand ethos. Somewhere personal biases also have to come down. I think a lot of us are always on Instagram and this happens that we like a particular content creator. I will give you an example. This was years back. One of our clients is a major entertainment company and the vice president really liked these two sisters dancing on social media all the time. And there was a movie which was about two sisters, an animated movie about kids. And we kept telling because it's way back, I can disclose it, it was 5-6 years back. We kept telling the concerned person that this particular campaign wouldn't work. But it was a personal bias and then it did not work. And that was a mega influencer. They took like a lot of money. They took 25-30% of the complete budgets. So I think it's important to get the right mix. Then it becomes cost effective. Yes, there will be some people who will charge a little more than what you would expect them to charge, but I think that's fair enough. Sometimes you get great content, sometimes you get great engagement.
No, I'd like to quickly pass on the mic and ask each of you, which are the big platforms today for the influencer marketing part of it? Because now I feel that, Instagram is sort of taking the lead. Is everybody on Instagram? If you're talking about influencing, is it just Instagram, or is it there are other platforms which are also important for you? Maybe we can start from you.
No, definitely no brainer. Instagram still remains the top platform, just by how democratized the platform is. Also now in tier 4 cities, with everyone having a handset and internet reaching to the most remote parts. One very interesting platform which has come to our attention, and I've been very surprised how well it is still performing, is Snapchat. It is a third best performing platform after Meta, Google, and then Snapchat. Also the fact that Snapchat came when I'm a millennial, so it came when I was a Gen Z, if that made sense back in the time, and it's still relevant. So very interesting to see that. Also, I think another untapped space for marketers is community-based platforms like your Reddit, Telegram, Quora. They still haven't reached where they are in US, let's say, but I think that's what will give us first mover advantage. And I would want like a lot other brands to also start, creating content there and start tapping into it, so that we can have the platforms also push to make it more user-friendly as per India's content consumption patterns.
No, I think I completely agree with her, right? While Instagram is by far the most important platform for us as well, there are certain vernacular platforms that exist from time to time. There have been some that have done really well but haven't really kind of sustained, right? But for us, again, even when it comes to influencers, how do you kind of build a community of influencers? How do you build a community of your consumers, right? How do you use your right broadcast channels to kind of get your influencers to talk about your product on your broadcast channels, right? I think there's a right mix of all these things, but I think pretty much all of it for us at least exists in the Instagram universe itself.
So Instagram definitely is the one. From a conversion angle, yes, Instagram is very important. But from an awareness angle, we've seen YouTube do very well for us as well. So for us as a brand, we are looking at, say, people who review automobiles as a sector. That's a very important one for us because a lot of our business is male-driven. So a lot of them we associate with are actually doing car reviews, but they're just seen wearing Pepe, from head to toe. So they're just wearing a Pepe branded T-shirt, or they're wearing a cap and so on. And that really pushes the awareness levels because these guys get lakhs and lakhs of views, comments and the rest. And those videos are always there, right? Whenever you go back and see them. Even a lot of these travel bloggers who put out, say, 10, 12-minute content pieces are very important because that lifespan is almost infinite, right? Right from the start till now. And we also make sure that we are only using it as an awareness push. So we have merchandise which is clearly, undeniably Pepe, right? You'll see Pepe right in the front, and subconsciously you are pushing that messaging across as well. So YouTube has been an experiment for us, which is doing well, but from a brand awareness perspective.
Well, actually, look, this changes industry to industry, right? Because for me, it's actually awareness that's pushed on Instagram. Instagram, of course, is the biggest. You have the maximum number of influencers there also, the maximum number of reach, the maximum number of consumers. All of us, when you said we are addicted to social media, that's the dopamine rush that we usually crave. Having said that, YouTube is an amazing platform if you want to push consideration and conversion, and also, now that we are in the lab-grown space, I want to educate people because people usually do search-based research over there. So you can actually push a lot of content of that kind on YouTube. YouTube is more niche with influencers. They also know if they've made it big on YouTube, that they can charge a certain amount of money, that they can mention many brands together. A lot of those things happen. So you have to do a right mix. But Instagram works super well for awareness.
Well, I don't think anything different from what people have said here. I completely agree with both Instagram and YouTube. YouTube more in our case because we have to show the demonstration of the service. So, there's only X that I can peddle with the product. I have to show the whole treatment of the hair, etc., etc. So, for us, YouTube is the area we're going to be investing in as far as the next couple of years is concerned.
You know, for all the visually appealing product lines, I think everybody over here is from that industry. I think they have mentioned that Instagram and YouTube work. Snapchat has grown really well, especially in northwest of India. Somehow, people in Punjab, North Delhi, they have picked up Snapchat, you know, better than people in Bombay. But I think with this India-China thing now coming almost to an end, I think TikTok might make a comeback in a year and a half's time when their data security and everything gets settled over there as to where the data will be stored. I think TikTok will make a comeback, and you know, the 15-second videos, the 20-second, 30-second videos will make a comeback, is what I assume. For brands which are based on perspective, I think Reddit is a very important platform these days. It gives you, so for example, for automobile companies, Team BHP has been a platform which is a standalone platform. If you ask a car enthusiast today, if I want to buy a new car, somebody, if goes to Team BHP, you will get reviews which are absolutely true. And you can actually pick up cars accordingly. So they will compare a Kia versus a Tata versus a Mahindra, etc., etc. So community-based platforms are very important in terms of getting the core people to talk about you. So I think somewhere Reddit is doing a good job, and Quora, I think, is now almost dead. That's something where, you know, Twitter is still working. According to me, a lot of sports-based brands, cinema-based brands, they're still on Twitter. So I think that's a great platform as well if you're from that industry.
So Prateek, you've almost answered everything I believed. But yeah, for Body Shop, I just want to say that we do have a mix of platforms, which is mainly it is Instagram, which we focus on, and also the YouTube. So we have a lot of brand awareness campaigns which we launch from time to time, and YouTube in terms is giving us results in terms of brand awareness, and very rightly said that it's not only the awareness but also the consideration, which is extremely important now. That is the education and the information what we want to impart to the customers. These days, you know, everybody who wants to know how to do this, or please, you know, give me some tips and tutorials. I think YouTube is excellent. It's really an excellent platform for that. In fact, YouTube Shorts these days has been very, very popular, and we are also investing in that because that's the new gen platform where we are also exploring and of course doing our findings. Instagram definitely has been there, but still I feel it's relevant, much relevant to the kind of content we want to, you know, we want our audiences to get engaged with. And within Instagram, I feel we do drive some awareness and consideration, but I feel for conversion, we need to actually look at other platforms also. We also look into a lot of blogging in terms of, because we have so much content where we want to educate and inform our consumers. We actually have used Quora, so Quora has actually helped us to get a lot of, I would say, relatability and engagement, wherein we see a lot of clicks to our website and people really wanting to know more about our products and information what they get from Reddit or Quora. It's still very, very relevant for our for the marketing what we want to actually, you know, we want to actually go through with all the customers. So that's it. I think it's a mix of all the platforms, but definitely I feel we are waiting for TikTok to come. We're also waiting for TikTok to make entry again to India, because I think that was very, very relevant, and also it really helped us for much better awareness and engagement.
Instagram possibly took off because
because TikTok did not.
It was good for them, yeah.
So you know, I just like to add, the algorithms keep changing. Like for example, long format videos are not getting views at all these days, and YouTube, because she mentioned YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts is the ones which is getting video. Probably some genius in YouTube said that we should also do Shorts because Meta is doing so well on Instagram Reels. The long format videos are not. In fact, the long format videos, as he mentioned, are one of the best, and it has an infinite life. In fact, people 10 years down the line might pick it up, and you know, it's about creating that particular content for your brand. We have seen Reels, Instagram Reels getting viral after 3 years for brands. And I know none of our bosses are going to, you know, agree to the fact that 3 saal ke baad viral hoga. But we have seen those things happen. So it's about just identifying that right platform, as most of the brands here have done that.
You know, from all your answers, I'm guessing Instagram, of course, is the biggest hit, and it kind of leads up to my next question. Now, influencer marketing, of course, is a 1,800 crore industry. This is about a year ago. And yet I saw this report by Cluck Cluck which revealed that 2 out of 3 Instagram profiles in India have fake accounts, fake followers exceeding about 60%. So how do you really address the concern of fake followers considering that you're putting a lot of money into this?
60% engagement, come maan ke chalo. Assume that there are 4 lakh followers instead of 1 million followers.
Okay, and so what is the kind of wastage we're really looking at?
I'm just answering from an agency perspective, let the brands handle that.
He's advocating, basically, yes. Daman, maybe you want to answer that.
Okay, yeah. So, honestly, back in, say, about a year and a half ago, like when we used to kind of choose influencers before this whole algorithm moved to engagement and engagement scores, etc., we were very happy कि यार इस influencer से इतने view आ गए. Super excited, right? And then we obviously started realizing that Instagram itself also kind of pushed these videos across. You get a lot of views. The CPVs sometimes used to be as low as 0.05 and the influencer had barely 100k followers, and one would imagine ki what is exactly happening, right? We obviously slowly kind of started kind of studying it, understanding it, right? Today a lot of agencies and platforms have these native tools to kind of define what bot audience exactly is. We get the exact engagement score of each and every influencer, and see we do campaigns. As I said, for us at least, we don't have, for us, like, you know, we get the male, females, the split, we get the engagement score. So I'm guessing a lot of other brands over here have problems because they have to choose from so many different influencers and then kind of say that who doesn't have bots. So for us, we already have like 2-3 metrics, right? We've defined the follower split, etc., etc. We actually go sometimes and see comments, we get in touch with agencies, we define that, and then we create a set of influencers and list of influencers. Otherwise, there is no other possible way for us to kind of go about doing this. The other thing that's actually, even if influencers don't have bot followers, I wanted to kind of just touch upon this for anybody who would like to answer. The CPVs with influencers today have gone phenomenally high, right? I'd spend less money running an ad than I was to give an influencer money for, like, say, every 2 views I'm getting charged 5 rupees, and I just don't understand what the logic of that exactly is, right? Now, if it was a YouTube haul video, like ma'am said earlier, I know I get it, right? A little long form content you get, there's ROAS on that. You pay an influencer an X amount, a 10-12 minute video would get you, say they'll show so many products and they get you some kind of ROI. But otherwise, when it comes to Instagram, I think bot followers is a problem, and it's the I don't know if I'd call it mentality, but that itself is a problem in terms of the CPVs being so ridiculously high today, which is just not fathomable for me at least.
Basically, there's no real indicator for the success of an influencer marketing campaign, is it? We're literally shooting in the dark and hoping it works.
See, the thing is, again, right, there are 2-3 ways to look at it. Now, if you're looking at, if, say, for example, I'm doing a sale event, right? We've just recently did a sale event. I will have to just shut off certain parameters and then look at I need to go and get as many people to talk about it. Suddenly, one fine day, women across India open the app and everybody's like, Zivame, 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 Zivame. And then you're just naturally like, okay, what is it, right? Influencers also today, to some extent, are like print ads from the real estate era. Ki matlab, har paper mein you will find my print ad. Similarly, every influencer, suddenly one fine day you open Instagram, is talking about it. You are bound to get noise, right? So you are bound to kind of do well at certain times. The real deal is when you have just certain budgets month on month and you're able to use influencer in a proper manner, and the kind of products you're pushing, they are getting enough sell-throughs. That is then the true metric, is what every brand should kind of look for. Not when you have sudden spike events and you just take the whole world of influencers, macro, micro, nano, everybody.
Priyanka Ranjan, would you like to answer whether, after a massive influencer marketing campaigns, you've actually seen conversions happen? Not just awareness, conversions.
Yes, so I'll tell you an example, and she's not an influencer, she's an ambassador, but since we've signed, say, somebody like Kriti, she's the face of the brand now, not only in India, even globally. We launched a campaign in September, and since then we've seen almost 50% of people who come to us have been first-time shoppers, right? Both online as well as offline. And that's an indicator for me from a face, right? Having a face and seeing what comes through. when you look at it from a smaller influencer base, we did something with Siddhant Chaturvedi. This is back in 2022, where he was just wearing winter wear from us, and the styles that he wore sold out. And this is back in 2022. Obviously, people were buying more from e-commerce. Stores were still not functional, with full strength. But overall, if you ask me, the efficiency of it will still be the number of impressions they've got, the number of comments you've got, the number of link clicks you've got. Conversion is always going to be secondary, always. And this might differ from brand to brand, obviously, because the intention of it's very important on the phase in which your brand is, right? It can be a nascent phase where you're only pushing coupon codes and trying conversion. Or it could be a phase where you don't need to push conversion on the social platform. You just need to push the fact that you're around and you're still relevant, with whatever you're doing.
Harmeet, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, with regards to the influencer being successful, I think it's very important the kind of campaign you actually give them. It's actually the brand, I think it's a responsibility that what we are actually wanting them to reflect on. Definitely the right messaging and the authenticity of what we want to convey. So just to give you an example, we have, I have two examples actually, quickly I'll just narrate. One is when we did an influencer campaign just very recently in December, wherein we got the filtering very right in terms of our TG, in terms of the relatability of those consumers and how engaging they could be, with the audience. And I must say that with the success of the campaign and the influencer choice, actually everybody's been really commenting on that and saying that you had the right influencer choice in terms of either, I'm not saying that whether they were micro or macro, but I think the way they delivered the message, I think it was very, very important the way the brand took the responsibility, the right way to do that. So we did this campaign in December, and I must say this is one of our best seller in just 2 months, that product. So these are the influencers, and just to talk about one also very recent campaign which is still running, it is British Rose, one of our fastest seller. That was done by Diana Penty, and again the way it was shot, the way we engaged our consumers, and the beautiful content what we made, it was of course from the brand side, and definitely the followers what Diana Penty has. I think it's a great mix. You need to have a mix of I feel a product success in the industry, with all the consumers, it lies not only with the influencer and what they do, but also it lies with the brand, definitely, with them as well.
Super. Now from conversion, I'd like to come to content. And we've been noticing that, a lot of cringe content on Instagram and, other platforms has been getting a lot of traction. Just the first thing that comes to my mind is Ganji Chudel. I'm sure everybody has heard of the phenomena called the Ganji Chudel. From Nykaa, Google, the brands that you wouldn't think are going to collaborate with her are collaborating. What do you guys think about, collaborating with cringe content? Who wants to take that? Resha.
Take it. Look, cringe content, it depends on your brand, but let me tell you, I don't think Ganji Chudel is cringe content. Firstly, no, I really don't think so. I think it is a certain way, because it's produced a certain way. You can't really dub it as cringe content. It's actually very, very smart, engaging content. I do think there's a lot of cringe content. You go to YouTube and you're watching shorts. Oh my God, there's a lot of cringe content, even on Reels. Even actually Facebook Meta Reels could be like, there is lots of cringe content there. I think you must know your brand. If I am a premium jewelry brand, there is no way that I'm going to go and collaborate with cringe content, because my brand has a value. Every single day I put brick by brick together to build a brand. So cringe content or any content at all, any influencer, any content, anything that you do, you must be very sure of knowing yourself. Your brand is a person, and only collaborate if it goes with your brand, because numbers are nothing if they're taking you in the wrong direction. There is really no reason why you should run after numbers. You should run after creating something which has value. The second thing is Ganji Chudel. Let me come back to it. I totally do it because I do not think it's cringe. I think it's really fun. So yeah, that's how I would look at creating content or collaborating. Be very sure of your brand value and do it when it's relevant.
Sameer, would you like to add to that?
I think I wouldn't do it because it's taken us a while to build a brand, 30, 35 years. Today's world, we know one wrong step you take, it'll just erode whatever you've done. So, risks are perhaps too high for our category. We're a serious service provider. Of course, there's fun involved in it, but I would rather stay away from it. That's my personal opinion.
Imagine Ganji Chuled, entering Look Salon and gets a hair. Or wearing a Jiva jewelry and walking around in her metaverse. A lot of brands, what happens is because something is trending, a lot of brands latch on to that because they think engagement is the key. I think it made sense for Google to do it. If you ask me from a perspective of an agency, I think it made absolute sense for them to do it. I don't think Nykaa one was placed so well. If you ask me as someone who has seen this industry over the last 8 years, Nykaa was not placed. I think it was just that they latched on to the trend and they said, let's do it, and it happened. I think it, again, as it's rightly said, it would not work for a Jiva. It would not work for any of the brands here, I think.
No, I think it really takes,
For us.
honestly, it takes guts for a brand to kind of accept Ganji Chudel. I'm not getting into, okay, let me put it this way. Sometimes the best jokes are these dad jokes, right? People love it. People love how bad sometimes something is, right? So I don't know if it's cringe or not, but it has a shareability to it. People are like, okay, you love it or you hate it. So even for a brand to kind of do that, for say Nykaa to do that, they very well knew ki either people be like, oh my god, like, wow, Nykaa, you had the guts to pull this off. Or people like, oh my god, Nykaa, you're so big, did you actually really do this, right? So I'm sure they were contemplating both the things. It just happened to work on their favor because Ganji Chudel now and then was at an all-time high.
Yeah, and Nykaa has been one of those brands who have been very specific about influencer marketing. They had their own in-house influencer marketing team in 2018. And they collaborated with all fashion influencers, all lifestyle influencers at unimaginable rates for a few-year contracts.
I guess everybody on the panel is sort of a fan of Ganji Chudel. Whether or not you'll collaborate with them for a brand.
I think this is a very nice note that we are ending the panel's conversation at.
One more question, not ending it.
So see, you asked like this is Ganji Chudel and this is cringe content. It was a statement which itself was, establishing that it was. But is it really? Like when we say cringe content, is it cringe content or is it my understanding of cringe content, right? We all are too attached to our brand's personas and we are just married to it. We don't even entertain the idea of dating a certain content trend which has come in. So I think when we are saying influencer campaigns, firstly, that itself is wrong. There shouldn't be influencer campaigns. There should be campaigns. The focus of a brand in today's D2C world should be to create a movement. Now, whatever that movement is, you work and you put your brainstorming together as a marketer that how can I put my brand into it? Because hey, the world is consuming it. You like it, hate it, who gives a whatever, right? Like we have to see what people are liking and enjoying. So I think what Nykaa has been able to do and lot many other brands have been able to do is really understand that consumption pattern and then see that, okay, like can a Jiva fix there, can a Libas fix there, and also not try too hard also just for the heck of doing it. But at the same time, that's where I think we all get tested as marketers, that how can we create a movement. I think for me, I look at content like that and not look at it from the influencer lens.
Just one last question, like I promised. Now, we always hear about, whenever you speak to a production, like an AD or a brand, you always hear, if you've gotten celebrities, they are now going to do this one dialogue, there's too much nakra coming out there, and the celebs would complain that the brands are micromanaging. So when it comes to influencer marketing, and you guys are speaking and dealing with about maybe 100 influencers across the country, how much of control do you really have, and how much of micromanagement maybe can you do with regard to the stories that they spin out?
Who said influencers don't have nakras?
Yeah, that's what I was coming at. Yes, go for it.
They feel they were born to be actors. They didn't get a platform. They were not related to Karan Johar. So they came on Instagram.
I've actually worked with actors who were just so polite, didn't even ask for a coffee, change in a washroom, and
Yeah,
did.
it's actually-
And like I've had influencers with 50K and just want a representative
Yeah.
and want to order from a Blue Tokai and lunch
I think
from
it's-
like whatever, and then has not even done enough work.
It's
and
easier to
wrap up
work with
early.
actors than with influencers, very frankly. I have felt
I mean, I
that.
wouldn't generalize to that scale. Well, there are some actors which like do give you nightmares, and well, there are some really nice influencers. So, I mean, it's not good to generalize, but influencers are also very difficult to work with. Also, certain times I feel that there's this jump in commercials which have come with influencers, which is absolutely obnoxious. I'm happy to give anybody 10 lakh for a reel also, as long as they give me 30 lakh out of that campaign. I think that's a conversation which is not only lost on actors, on influencers, but also on a lot of marketers. We also give in, that is why a certain industry standard has been set, right? I don't like to look bad in front of my boss. I like to keep on asking for money for all campaigns continuously across all months and all quarters. So I do that due diligence at my end to make sure that, okay, why am I even doing this? Is this because I like a Kusha Kapila, so I want a Kusha Kapila? Or just having her, does it make sense for me or not? So I think these kind of questions, like you need to continuously be very honest with yourself and also then encourage your team to work a certain way as well.
So just to sum it up, let me say, there are no real indicators to measure an influencer marketing campaign. They also give you a lot of nakra. They're not easy to manage, but we still, I think, can't do without them at this stage. Love them, hate them, can't ignore them. Yes, fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. It was such an engaging conversation. Absolutely delight speaking to all of you.
Thank you, Neeta, for hosting it.
Thank you all. Thank you.